Hello, I'm Jitin Rajaram and welcome to Perfect Research. The very specific question that we are going to deal with today is how to select a PhD title. Why this should be a question, by the way? Because it's going to be your identity for the rest of your life. A PhD degree is your identity. It is going to define your career. It is going to give you a space in your career wherein you will be identified by the kind of research you have done. Your 3 years are going to be depending on this title that you don't lose motivation to complete it. So it is essential for you to select these words. There are roughly 20 words or less into a PhD title, but it is going to give you an identity. People will judge you through this title. People will make assumptions about you, presumptions about you. They will get impressed or depressed or digressed from you just because of these 20 words. So it is very important for you to have a very appropriate selection. And second, it is actually very tough to decide a topic. Not because you cannot do a research, but because out of hundreds and 200s or maybe thousands of options available with you, which one is the most appropriate one you should pursue? So how will you find out? There are 10 other ways. You have 10 other questions to solve when you think that, okay, I'll be doing this or maybe that. But you cannot pack all of them into one thesis. You have to galvanize it. You have to filter it. And you have to distill it at a level wherein it is achievable as a degree, number one. And number two, it should be something like you feel all the time that it is worth chasing for. So it is like walking on a tightrope, because at this side you may end up losing interest. At this side you may never be able to achieve it. So it has to be fine-tuned that way. That's why we are going to talk about it. And you will agree, if you're intending to do a PhD, then you must be undergoing about all those do's and don'ts, yes and no's, and topics and this topics and that topics discussions, and all sort of permutations and combinations. And you must be facing this question that what should be the appropriate title for a PhD, and that's why we are here talking about it. I hope at the end of this session you will be able to answer it. But here is something I want to tell you. How to select a PhD title is the last phase of this discussion. Why we are selecting that PhD title is what we're going to talk for next 5 to 6 minutes. Stay with me. So I'm going to take you through the 6 steps to reach to a situation wherein you become capable of drawing your PhD thesis. So there are 6 steps before it. The first word that I'm going to use, you will say, it's very easy. Everybody talks about it. I'm talking about brainstorming. It is very important to do brainstorming. It is a metaphor that everybody is using these days. Like it's very common into boardroom that people talk about brainstorming. But what exactly I'm talking about when I'm talking about the brainstorming? I'm talking about defining your purpose, figuring the timeline, how much time you're going to devote every single day, how much money you're going to invest, budgeting the money, and how much resources you have with you, and what is the doability of the particular topic that you will say. So there are 5 things. Let me repeat. Purpose of doing it, time that you have, money that you have and you want to invest, you're interested on it or not, or is this doable? So we have to brainstorm. Purpose, you just want to have a doctor tag in your name, or you want to build a career by doing a degree, or you just want to have a gold medal, you want to win a gold medal out of your thesis, or you want to have a global recognized award like Nobel Award or whatnot. So what is maybe the mixture of all, maybe some of it, or maybe any one of it. But you need to decide what you want out of your PhD. If it is for career, that's okay. If it's just to have a tag of doctor in your name, that's okay. I mean, this is exactly a good thing to think about. So there's no harm in thinking this way. So what is it? You have to decide, because purpose is going to set that how much time you're going to invest, how much money you're going to invest, how much interest level you will build in, and what is the doability of it. Purpose is going to define everything. So first thing that you have to brainstorm about, what exactly is your purpose about doing the PhD. And that's okay if you have a smaller purpose or a higher purpose. In both the cases, it's not wrong. It is just your priority. But make sure that all the priorities will depending upon your priority, your cost, your time, your every priorities will have an impact. So be realistic about the purpose that you want. Time, because we are doing PhD at the time when we have lot of other personal and professional responsibilities. We are just growing up to age wherein mostly we are married, we are having kids, young kids, then we have in-laws, and we have other challenges in our professional life. We are growing, our career graph is up, we are very competitive, we have cutthroat competition wherever we are working. So we have multiple targets to achieve. And in middle of those targets, when you intend to do your PhD, most likely you end up tossing off your PhD in the middle. This is what happens with most of the people who have logged in to do their PhD. So, right? So you have to do this. So time it, that you have to give a consistent time every single day, non-negotiable. So you have to make sure that you're able to give, even if there is a wedding home or maybe some function home or something bad happened to your life, you must be able to give at least 1 hour a day. That's consistency is going to finish your PhD. Nothing else can help you on that. Third is budgeting. You have money, how much money you want to earmark for this particular thesis, because it's going to be costly. There can be multiple ways to where monies will be important. Not only tuition fees of the university, not only the cost of doing research and data collections and the resources and the journals and libraries, but there can be any amount of money, right? So, and most importantly, the interest. What is your cause? What is your opinion? What is your mission? What is your objective? What is your argument about certain things? That can be politics, that can be philosophy, that can be society, culture, science, technology. You must be having an opinion. For example, should a person be allowed to live with machines all the time? So you must have an opinion about it. Do you allow a machine to do all your shopping and all your curation of ideas for you? There must be an opinion about it. So there is always a socio-cultural and political opinion of every scientific and non-scientific events happening in and around us. So do you have an opinion? Do you have an argument to support or reject those opinions? Do you have a cause because of which you have developed this opinion? So it should be something which is not less than your mission or your value system or your cause of existence or the very code of your identity. It should be very close to any of it. Otherwise, you will not be able to be consistent. You will not be able to be passionate enough to invest same amount of time, money, and energy in it. And once you start losing it, it will just drift away. So it is very important that the topic that you select in your PhD should be appropriately very close to the very code of who you are. So so that should be the interest thing. Then the durability and the resources, right? So are you living in a city wherein there are top class universities and top class supervisors and all libraries and research papers available? Or are you living in a village wherein all these things are not readily available? So depending upon where you live, what are your proximity about these things, you have to align your resources accordingly. So what resource you have in hand, and most importantly, the topic that you're selecting based upon your interest, is it this big that you cannot achieve in your PhD? I mean, that's okay. You can do it with a little bit of stretching around it. So that is how you have to select. So these are 5 ways to brainstorm, and it is important. Next is developing the idea. We all are full of ideas. We all have a lot of ideas, but very less of us are having action plan for the ideas, and even less are acting upon those ideas. So PhD is an action, is a theoretical action for the idea that you're developing. So you just not have an idea and it will do. You have to be very much invested upon this idea. So let's construct that idea. How you want to construct it? First is you have to read. Second, you have to make notes of what you're reading. Third, you have to discuss it among your colleagues, friends, and everybody around you, family members. And fourth is document it. And most important, the fifth is develop a right temperament. So this is how you develop an idea. Temperament is important. You know what? 7 billion people are living on Earth. And let's assume that 7 billion of people have so far lived and died on this Earth. If I'm talking about the 14 billion brains, how much do you think will be a chance that you are the only one thinking about an idea? Trust me, it's not true. What you are thinking, a lot of people have already thought about it. Your idea is not new. The purpose of reading is to figure out how many people are thinking around your ideas and what they are thinking about it and how different it is from your thought process and how we can create demarcations between what have been thought through, what other people are thinking and what you are thinking. To make clear distinctions about others and you have to read them. You're not alone in the universe. Not only so you cannot have just your own special and unique ideas. Just find out who are having the same ideas, and you can do it really easily. So first thing, you have to read enough to figure out the like-minded people, figure out the like-minded thoughts, and condense them into a place. Make notes. Make notes of the sources you get it from. If you're not making notes, you will lose up. You will never be able to connect the threads. The dots will never connect, and you will always be running loosely around it. You will not be able to stitch up and pack up in the right direction. So make notes. Discuss it among the friends. Trust me, friends, nobody can steal your idea. And if somebody is stealing your idea, you should be double happy because your idea is worth stealing. And you know what? Nobody can do justice as good as you can do about your ideas. So talk about your ideas, vehemently talk about whoever you are going across and discuss it. Because even if somebody try to copy it, you will still have ways to make your own set of priorities into that idea, ferment it and condense that idea, pack it better than whoever else is trying to pack it. So discuss it. Don't worry about it being stored. And important dose is develop a temperament. What do I mean by temperament? Temperament is that you not just go very romantic about your idea, very passionate about your idea. You don't go very arrogant about your idea. You just treat upon it jovially, calm and composed with a plan and capability to stick to the plans and trading to it very finely and scientifically. That should be, because it's a theoretical, PhD is a theoretical exploration of the idea, not the practical one. So you have to, I'm not saying that you lose the passion, but I'm saying do not get extremely passionate that it becomes beyond human vortices, right? So that's what I'm saying. So having the right temperament, otherwise it will just blast away. It will not end up where you want it to end. So that's why it is very important to have a very scientific temperament around the idea that you are developing. Next is those calibrate and the focus. You've gone through the brainstorming, you've gone through the idea development, you've read enough, you've got a lot of ideas around it. Now the time is to bottle it down, distill it, and filter it, fine-tune it. For that, you have to calibrate. So chip off something which is not required. That may be too expensive, that may be too time-consuming, that may be less of your interest, that may be less doable. For them, maybe the resources are less available, and maybe that is not your purpose in and around that particular idea or subject. So chip them off. Remember the brainstorming and the idea development? So just chip them off. Second is assemble the required things in the order. So whatever left after chipping off, assemble them in a thread. Then define problems around it. So for example, define statements, right? Make statements accounts. For example, you're doing a PhD about, I'm just taking an idea for us to make a better understanding. This example, like you want to study about the efficiency of working from home. Can this be a feasible options even after the tough situation of pandemics is long gone? Because a lot of corporates are looking at it as an option. So do you want to probe it? So how will you look at it? That is working from home efficient? Right? Working from home meets the expectations of the employer and the employee. Working from home does not impact the personal liabilities or professional liabilities because of the personal liabilities. So if you want to make these, so these are your statement of the particular subject. There are 100 other things about working from home, but you just want to close down on these many things, right? Next is define problems. Okay, so make the hypothesis that working from home is less efficient. Working from home it doesn't meet the expectation of the employer and employee, and working from home may have personal and professional life intermixing, or may not give you the psychological refreshment, or does not give newness in your life, vibrations and colors in your life. So these are some of the questions you can build upon, around it. So I'm just giving you an example. This is not exactly how I want you to think about it, but giving an example so that you can understand the relevance of what I'm saying, right? And fit all these ideas into your time, money, budget. So it should, then the doability will start observing. Right, friends, so this is how you will be doing it. Then once you are through with it, then you, by the time you do so many things, you will be able to figure out there are some 4 or 5 variables around which you talk very repeatedly. Variables, so technically variables are something that fits into the equations. That is not certain, that you have to derive it through various equations, but let's not go into that scientific meaning, though it is very scientific. It is in the same sense I'm talking about, but right now I'm talking about that variable is something that is most compiling issues, that can be most research phrase of the topic you are researching for, that can be best description of your topic, and that can be can easily connect all your existing works and the works that have been done in the past. So those are the variables, right? So for example, WHM, so WFH, work from home, is a variable, right? Taking example of efficiency of working from home is a variable, right? Employee-employer expectation gap is a variable. So these are the variables, right? So this is what I'm talking about. Then plan your synopsis. Start writing about it. Now we are done about thinking. Let's come to the action. So start writing about what is the most tempting ideas about it, most glamorous thing about the idea. Some 2-3 pages, write about it. Then you write about the scientific and technical discussion about the variables and the topic, the subject around. Then you do some 14-15 pages of research paper studies and book studies, and make your annotations out of that, make the bibliography out of it, and then you will be able to you will be in the position that the all concept around which you want to do your thesis will be very much clear, and you will be able to grow the confidence and the motivation to achieve that. You will be able to see your PhD at the end of the tunnel, and once you are able to visualize this, the confidence, the willingness, the alignment of resources, everything will start coming on visible, right? So this is very important. Then is further calibrate your ideas. Now is the time that you have to further condense it, right? So second time, second filtration. So there will be a lot of questions which you do not want to treat upon, or maybe which is not possible for you to treat upon. So for example, at the beginning you have 100 statements, objective statements. Now you're left with 30 statements. This is the stage when you have to cut down it to 4, 5, or maybe 6, but not more than 6. So some 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 statements, not more than that, not less than 2, not more than 6. So these are the statements, objective statements, that you condense down it. That is called further calibration of your idea. And now, my dear friends, you are ready to make your PhD title, right? So that's where we wanted to come, right? So your PhD topic should not have more than 20 words, as I said in the beginning. Should not have jumble bumble words. It's not just a bundle of words, or each and every, even the articles that you use must be very thoughtfully placed at exactly the point. So what should a title define? The title of a PhD must define 4 things: the purpose of your research, the scope of your research, the narrative of your research, and the method of your research. Just by reading those 20 or less words, anybody should be able to understand the purpose of why you have done this research, understand the scope, whether you have been doing it in India or in a state of India or somewhere in the Middle East or somewhere in US or what is right. So you've done it in IT industry or in pharmaceutical industry or in aerospace or you in climate center like or into uh, dams or projects or satellite, right, or aviation something. So it has to be very condensed industry wise. That's a scope. And narrative, are you investigating more questions, are you answering certain questions, are you doing the set of both answering and leaving behind the questions, or you are just rephrasing somebody's answers or re-establishing the questions from the beginning. So there can be lot of possibilities in and around the narratives that you want to build. And then comes about the method of your research. Is it going to be primary research driven or the secondary research driven? It is going to be qualitative or quantitative, right? Scalable, measurable, like how it is, like what is the method that you're using. So these are the four answers your title must answer. And in order to make a PhD title which is able to answer these four questions, you have to go through the beginning. You have to brainstorm about the time, about the budgeting, about the purpose, about the resources, about the doability. You have to come back and talk about the ideas temperament, right? Ideas probability, scope of ideas, and everything about it, and on and on. Then you're calibrating your focus, then you're setting your objective statements, making your problem statements. So these are the things you have to do. Why you have to do it? Because at the end of it, your PhD title should be able to answer four things: purpose, scope, narrative, and method. Right? Will you be able to answer these questions in your PhD just by choosing 20 words? I think it's possible. If you need further question around it, post your comment. We will be happy to answer them. And guess what? We can consult one-on-one if your idea is really compelling. Stay tuned to Persec Research channel. I am Jitan Rajaram. I have been talking to you about something which is very important for all of us if at all you want to pursue a PhD degree. We are happy to help you. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.